Well, I'm excited to start this conversation with Rodney McLeod. Rodney, man, really excited to have you here on the Intangible Podcast. I mean, Rodney was a 13-year NFL vet. Man, he played longer than me. Jeez. Bro, I got some questions around how the body's feeling right now.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champ, played for the St. Louis Rams when they were still in St. Louis, the Eagles, the Colts, and the Browns. Retired in 2024. I mean, you got your career stats. When I look at the career stats, 757 tackles, 18 interceptions, 66 pass deflection. I mean, when you hear those things, it's like, man, all right, okay, I did my thing. And now you're a co-founder of Change Our Future. You and your wife, Erika, started that foundation together. And now you recently just joined ESPN as a ACC football analyst, man. Dude, what a career, what a future. I'm really excited to have a conversation with you. So welcome to the Intangible Podcast.
Man, thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rodney, man, I know you're a busy man. I want to jump in and just start the conversation off. Just take me back to your upbringing. You grew up in Maryland. Take us back to that foundation, those foundation pieces of, who you are growing up, within your family, man, just so we can start to really get to know who you are.
Yeah, so actually born in Washington, D.C., Southeast specifically, and moved to Prince George's County, Maryland when I was about 7 and spent a lot of my years in the Oxon Hill, Maryland area, Bowie as well. And to give a little backstory on, how I entered this world, born with out of two parents that had me at the age of 18, high school. And so we're never married. I am the only child by my biological mom and dad. And, we've seen a lot of those situations go completely opposite in which mine did. Both of my parents were very actively involved in my life and were present parents, which paid dividend for me. My mom, she ended up marrying my step-pops. My dad married my stepmom. They divorced after 8 years. My mom and step-pops are still at it today. 30 years they just celebrated. And so
that's awesome.
I had a huge circle and village that I relied on and that poured into me. And that was instrumental in just my foundation and how I came up. I am one of 8 siblings. So I got
where are you in the rankings there?
Yeah. I'm 3 older step siblings. So those are completely separate from, my mom and step pops. Those are my stepfather's kids, and now have become, my siblings. And so they grew up in Connecticut. And then I'm the oldest of the remaining 5. That is just a little bit of who I am. Unorthodox family, but a loving family. I always felt love. And man, I just saw my parents, just put in work. And so that showed me, gave me that work ethic that I possessed throughout my time in the league, and then the love that they demonstrated to all of us, I continue to carry and wear as a parent today myself, new parent, and there's a ton of other things I can point to, but that's how I got started. Come from a very affluent area of just Black greatness and wellness around me and excellence, which is what you want to see and you inspire to see, and it's inspirational when you can walk out your house every day and see people that look like you, and know that you can find a way, you have a future in this world, and I found mine through sports.
Out of all of that, big family growing up, where were you in the order of just athletes? Were there other athletes in the family? Was it just, you just took to sports as a kid who was growing up just trying to figure out life?
Honestly, my uncle was the only person close to me that I could point to that was a superior athlete in high school and had all of the athletic gifts. And he was always a very active individual in my football history, especially at that little league level. So I was introduced to football at the age of 6. Haven't left it since, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, haven't left it since. And we always had that one moment that we probably can recall that was, all right, I think I have a chance. And this is just like on the small scale of playing, boys and girls club ball. I was 6. It's my first year playing football. I'm playing for the Bowie Bulldogs. We're playing Lanham, and I get a toss on the left side, and literally I just hit the sideline. Did 97 down the sideline, and it's just like it's a vivid memory I'll never forget. That was my introduction to football, and man, I didn't know where it could take me. I just knew I had ability. I knew I had a gift, and I wanted to see where the possibilities could take me.
3, 2, 1. Parents, the recruiting process is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever face for your child. And talent isn't enough. Coaches are looking for the intangibles like composure, coachability, communication, and leadership. And that's what Team Q measures. Get clear insights into your child's intangibles so they stand out when it matters most. Go to teamq.io and help your athlete unlock greatness.
As athletes, there's always a moment. There's always that one moment that sticks out where you can kind of go back to and say, this is when I knew, like, all right, I got something that can take me somewhere in life. It changed my trajectory of life. And so as you start to think about that and you start to kind of make your way through middle school and high school, you started becoming that guy in football. What was your idea and your plans, and what did you want to go to really make a change for yourself, but also for your family?
Those first 2 years of high school is really where I made the biggest pivot and change. And, first year as a freshman, I'm coming in, I went to public school all my life. And now I find myself in a private institution that demands a lot, from you and of you. I was just doing the bare minimum. Like, I was just average. And what I started to realize was, in order for me to get to like that next stop that I desire, which is college, my grades have to be in order. Like, I can't just show up and be a ball player and do the thing on the field. But then academically, the first thing these colleges have asked me every time is, what are your grades like? And so it just struck a chord with me. Like, everything is in a line. You can't do one thing without the other. You need the academics to take you where you want to get to. And so I just made a dedication to myself that I wouldn't allow that to limit me and be the reason why not. Because I knew I had what it took on the field. But if I pair the two, then I'm unstoppable at that point in my eyes. And that was that pivot moment for me. I always go back to that because it was a decision that I had to make and a choice that I made that impacted my future.
Yeah. No, made me think about my sophomore year, I think it was, and I had a guy by the name of I think it was a DB coach there at Ole Miss, and excuse me, when he came in and looked at my transcripts and realized that I wasn't in the right classes to get into a 4-year college, and then that change and shift right away, where they changed and got me into the right classes, man. It was at the moment when I realized, man, I really had to really buckle down and get this thing done to even give myself a chance. And I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm just in what they have me in. But when Coach Mike came in and looked at my transcript, he was like, this is not going to get it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, you get turned away without even going any further. You immediately turned away, and we fail to realize just how competitive those scholarships are. And that we thought they were competitive then. There's little like to go around nowadays in this like transfer portal era, NIL, all of that. So you got to take it all into consideration. And, I try to make sure when I do come across my athletes that are in high school, I share that story and just make sure they get it. Because, I'm glad that I was able to fix the issue early on. And like, that's what we're all here to do, man, is to be that compass for a lot of these young men, that are walking the same path that we did.
Well, I mean, I feel like I need to jump ahead right now. We'll come back, but but as you think about that now with the NIL and this whole transfer portal era, how do you communicate and help your young athletes walk through this journey and helping them realize that I still got to keep the main thing, and this education piece is not going to happen if I can't make this money if I don't have these grades.
Yes, it's a tough line to walk right now. If you are a young athlete, you're trying to perform on the field, but then you're also recognizing that I need a brand to now produce visibility for myself that will generate more dollars, right? Like my performance is yes, but then my brand, my identity, those sort of things that exist off the field will only take that number even greater. And we live in a social media and content hungry era of time where everybody's looking for the next moment to go viral, let's just say. It's difficult, as much as I love the fact that they have the ability to get paid and compensated for what they do. It's like a gift and a curse. Like the gift is you can find a way to get ahead earlier in your young life, based on your image, likeness, and performance, to be able to not only help yourself but possibly set up your family as well, because we know the challenges that a lot of us other Black community deal with. And so that is a positive sign. The other positive is that you are introduced to a good sum of money early on so that you can start to learn how to manage, grow, invest your money at this stage rather than waiting until, 4 years later. And so it gives you like some buffer time to make maybe some of those mistakes that we did early in our career when we first got into the league. Right. You do it at college where it's still minimal that you're like responsible for. And so like it's kind of, you're okay taking some of those L's that hopefully by the time you hit the league and you're introduced to even a larger amount, and you're responsible with it. And so like those are the two things for me that like stand out that I'm like happy about. But then on the other side, I think about the mindset that it puts these young men in and what they're chasing. You're no longer chasing character, you're chasing dollars. You're no longer chasing culture, but you're chasing money. Like that's a dangerous way to live life. Right. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself doing that repeatedly. And then what money does is, we know it can enhance a lot of those addictions and issues that live inside of us, and it can bring out the worst in a lot of these people. So I've know some boys who are now coaches in college, and I think a lot of their problem is authority no longer speaks to these guys when they're making more than their coaches. Right. And so again, you have to be mindful in your character, how you show up, and that, money is not going to get you out of every situation possible. So, I try to just speak to, at the end of the day, man, be a good person, have great character, and yes, like if they offer you, money, then just make sure you have the village and the right people around you to vet these individuals and go through the right process. Because we know there are a lot of sharks out here right now that are swarming in and looking to capitalize on this on a very vulnerable state of mind of these young men.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. I'm excited to have someone like you in the space to help learn, and then also lean back into from a mentorship to some of these young athletes, because there's not enough of us that is willing to do this that at no cost or not wanting anything from these athletes. So good for you on that. All right, we're gonna jump back here. You end up going to UVA. Mm-hmm. You go to UVA, you have a good career, and then, you're sitting in a place where you hoping to get drafted, and you go undrafted into the NFL. Take me through that process. Take me through that mindset and maybe the disappointment, but also the excitement of, even getting an opportunity to keep competing.
We only went to one bowl game. I didn't see that in my future there. I started off at cornerback my freshman year, moved to safety my sophomore year, and I stayed there all the way through. And I think I had a struggle with that at first because, looking at where cornerbacks are drafted versus safeties, there's a great amount of corners that are drafted and needed on a team versus the safety position. In just draft history. So I was looking at that like, man, wow, what are my probabilities going to be like now, right? And at the end of the day, man, that was the best decision that my coach Al Groh could have made for me, because he saw where the game was headed before it even transpired. The game no longer needed 6'4", 230 safeties. They needed safeties with cornerback background, with the ability to cover, tackle in open space, and be rangy, and like those things I checked, and so I was thankful for that. So that gave me a upper hand in just my versatility. So now we're into senior year, we get through the season, we're in the process of where could your next stop be. Everything was, let's say, late draft pick to undrafted. I go to the East-West Shrine game. I play cornerback. I don't play safety. I play corner. You know what I'm saying? To show you, right, that look, I'm capable really of doing a multitude of things. It's really about how you see me and where you want me, but don't place any limitations on me necessarily, because the narrative was, all right, is he too slow to play corner, or is he, not big enough to play safety at this level? So is the best spot for him at nickel? Where is it? Right. So now we are draft day, and, my mom, she wants to have people over. I'm against it. So we decide that, look, the first 2 days, we're not going to have anybody over, very minimal. Third day, we'll get into it and we'll have this celebration. So third day comes, I'm getting calls, how it goes. Well, maybe, a little different, but I'm like, they checking to make sure that, look, they got your information right, all of those sort of things. And the draft gets started, and I have a few calls that come through, and I'm thinking this is the moment I've been waiting for all my life. You see that number that you don't recognize, is not in your call ID, and I put that distinct ringer on so I know, and everybody gets quiet, and I think the first team may have been like the Panthers, and they're like, yeah, right. We man, it's a DB coach. I'm in the room, man. We got a couple picks coming up, and we fighting for you. But if we don't get you, man, we want you to come and be a priority free agent for us. I said, okay, I appreciate you calling, sir. Thank you. Why?
Why are you calling me?
Why are you calling? Like, come on. Like, why are you playing games with me right now? Right.
Right now, not the time.
Yeah, not the time for this. Like, you could do that afterwards. So I'm in a tough place, and the draft comes to a conclusion. And I really thought the Rams would take me. They had like 4 picks in the between the 6th and the 7th. And I thought I would have one of those slots. And I saw a kicker go before me. And I said, oh, but he ended up being Greg Zuerlein, like one of the,
there you go.
best kickers of the time. And so I said, okay, I didn't know that. But at first my feelings were hurt. So it comes to an end, man, and I'm just sitting there really in disbelief. I'm in shock. I'm in complete silence. I feel like I let everybody down around me. It was very heartbreaking to take in the moment when those around you that have like sacrificed and put in so much. You want to be able to return the favor that day with, hey, so-and-so has selected you in the X round. Like that was my, like, man, I got y'all. And when that didn't happen, I felt like I was a failure. Then something, remarkable happened. I get a call from the Rams, my coach, Chuck Cecil. He's like, look, man, I saw you at your pro day. I'm one of the reasons why, we're looking to get you is because, I saw what you could bring to the table. I like your skill sets. I believe in you. And so this is what's going to happen. We got 3 safeties on the roster, veterans, and then we're bringing in 3 undrafted guys like yourself. And we're more than likely going to keep one of you guys, and one's probably going to be on P squad and is going to get let go. And I said, say no more. You feel me? Like, say no more. Like, I'm here to compete. You feel me? I'm here to compete. And I really hung on to that call for dear life because, at a point where I was broken down, I didn't see myself really, wanting to go any further. Like, he just instilled life back into me with just those words that he said, and then giving me a chance of a lifetime to pursue my dreams. And I just held that close to me when I stepped foot in that building, man, with like the mindset of, man, nobody said my name on draft day. Nobody wanted me, but I'm going to make sure that, people know my name very well by the time I leave this locker room, I leave this training camp, the season. And I just was on a mission. I just held that chip on my shoulder every single year. Like, I found a way to just reinvent myself, whether it was still holding on to that draft day, whether it was a clip that like got put on my desk that I saw, how maybe I was viewed still in the building without them saying anything to me, but just how they moved around me. I just found something to like say, you know what? I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Yeah.
I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Well, the thing that's sticking out to me in this brief moment is your coach putting you to safety. Your coach up in college moving you to safety, and I would assume just knowing ball is about leadership. That you had those leadership qualities that he was looking for. Yep. So I'm sure as a young athlete you really didn't know, but your coach knew it. So when did you start to realize that you had these leadership characteristics that your coaches were noticing and putting you in position to win?
I started to realize them in high school. They decided to bring in 4 of us sophomores to now take the place of older guys, because they felt like not only did we have the skill sets, but we had the mindset and capacity to be able to handle everything that came with being a elite high school football player, from the scheme to everything else surrounding it. And you guys are the future of our football team. So I was put in that position early on, and then I obviously just saw it continue to blossom with time in the way that I handle, my position groups, I conducted myself, and those around me. But the thing that I point to the most is I feel like at every stop that I've been, I've always had somebody that I could look up to, that I like admired, that I was like, I'm just going to take a little bit of what they have and just, you know what I'm saying, bring it over here and just make it me. But I see myself in them. Like, they're older, but I can see myself like being that individual. And in the league, it was like Cortland Finnegan and Quinn Michael when I first stepped foot in as a Ram. So I credit a lot of guys around me for my leadership capabilities, but you still got to know it lives inside of you. And I tell God that all the time. Like, I believe it does. We all have a form of leadership that we demonstrate. We just, nobody's maybe ever like defined it or identified it for us, but it's there. And so, yeah, I just, man, I held that close to me, and I felt like I've always just been myself. And that's one of the most important pieces about, being a leader is knowing who you are and being authentically you, because people respond well to that. You know, we sense, fake. We know what that is. You know, guys trying hard, like, nah, I'm just like, this is me. And I would never ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. And so I think that's how I've always walked. And you know, it's paid off for me.
Yeah, you knew it was there a long time ago. I mean, I think about it back to your family, and that's
you don't even know. You don't realize what's going on. You're just doing it because it's what's required.
Right.
And I think that's it. It's like what's required. And I've always been the person that's just like, all right, this is what's needed. I can find a way to make sure it gets done, and I'm gonna see it through. And it's been no different from me as a kid, you know, helping with my siblings to, you know, through my football experiences.
So from that, you know, from a leadership standpoint, as you start to really make your way and make your name in the league, you know, you end up in Philly. You end up signing in Philly in 2016, and then you help them bring home, you know, that big trophy. You know, what stood out to you doing that in that season? You know, well, I guess the best question is, what stood out the most for you during that season?
You know, we just were very candid with the previous year and what were some of those like daily practices that we didn't do that allowed us to come up short, because we started off the year, you know, 3-0, and then we end up, you know, whatever it was, only with 7 wins and not even a playoff berth. And so it was a letdown, and we just came in hungry. And like I said, we made some adjustments from a daily goal standpoint. Like, those are some of the things I'm like, look, like myself and Malcolm Jenkins, you know, 2 leaders in the DB room, like, look, we gotta push ourselves, and not only, you know, us, but like the group. And it's starting with like, what goals do we feel like we can instill in practice that are going to align with whatever our season, you know, goals are. Because it can't just happen on Sundays. Like, we got to make a dedicated effort and have this like level of intention behind everything we do. And so, you know, one of those things was like, look, like, we can't lead the field without three turnovers. It don't matter how we get them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you know, you're just framing a mindset and a profile, I guess you would say, identity about yourself, is that we get turnovers. Like, this is what we do. And so it was those little things that were the difference maker when the season unfolded. And then the second piece was we were just resilient, like, and we were close. So I believe, you know, when crises break out, when the outside world tried to like pierce like that rock, like the core, we were so like solid that it was nothing that could you know, damage us, because we had that much, our faith was just that strong in each other. And we lost a lot of guys along the way. I mean, we lost our MVP quarterback, should have won it, Carson Wentz. We lost Darren Sproles, Hall of Famer, Jason Peters, Hall of Famer. We lost freaking Jordan Hicks, our star Mike linebacker. Like, we lost some studs, and we still prevailed. And it had everything to do with our faith, our mindset, and just our foundation that we built from the minute that we walked back into that building that season. And it's remarkable. Every time I look at the trophy, I just, it's not even about the game that flashes my eyes. It's about the journey that we took, the highs and the lows that came of that season, but ultimately just showed me what work will do for you, what belief will do for you, like the power of the tongue and action. All of it is speaking when I look at that ring and that trophy.
Yeah, man, you answered my question, man. I had a question about how did your locker room embody the composure to really, to sustain through those ups and downs.
Yeah.
And what I heard, because I just want to bring it out, because I don't think, when we talk about this, people just kind of like glaze over when you say it's a family. So that family environment, being tight, being close, you guys had that year, and it doesn't always happen. With every team. And so I think it's an important thing to really kind of touch on. Like, when you're winning Super Bowls, that means your locker room is so tight knit. And again, that changes so fast with this league where guys are getting injured or you're bringing in free agents or whatever it may be. And so I think there's something that really stood out in what you just said to me.
No, for sure. And when you think about it, every team goes through something. Like you're the road to to the mountain. It's not a straight line, and that's where people fail to realize. But again, it is that family environment that gets you through those tough times, and that closeness and togetherness has to it will show itself in those moments, or it won't, and then that's where guys and teams fall. We see it every single year. Everybody talks about family on three, when you start the year, but like family, we're going to see what family's all about come week 8 when, your secondary is decimated and you playing with this next guy. Are you willing to just do all those little things for your brother to make sure that, look, they're successful and that we can win? Those are the things that matter and hold weight at the end of the day.
Which is a testament to that locker room, because you had that the year before. You had that collapse the year before. Yep. And then to come back and right the ship. I mean, it's a testament to that locker room.
Yes. Yeah. Big time.
All right. Well, we're going to jump into a quick 2-minute. It's like the 2-minute going into halftime. I'm going to shoot you some rapid fire questions here. And so don't freeze up on me. All right, here we go. Your favorite stadium to play in?
The Link.
All right. Look at, he's keeping it close to home. What was your most memorable highlight interceptions that you had in your career?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. I'm freezing up right here because that's tough.
I mean, you had what?
Yeah,
18 of them. So
I had a good amount. I would say, man, really the only one that I was able to get into the end zone. That was a memorable moment for me. Tough world to say I only got one pick six, but look, it came on the back end of my career. Indianapolis Colts, man, I did the play, called it out before, and then was just a perfect play call. Man, robbed the sit down and took it to the house.
Yeah,
still, awesome. Old man that's still awesome. Has some wheels left, just enough.
That's all you need, just enough.
Yeah.
All right. The funniest teammate you've been around?
Yeah, I would say Ronald Darby. He's one of my all-time favorites. Shout out to my dog Darb. Just a character, good time always. Him and probably Slay. Those are probably top two. And both are, in my room. Man, great corners in this league. Was a pleasure, playing beside them.
All right. Favorite coach's quote or saying?
Ooh. Man, There's a couple. Greg Williams, treat every day like an interview. I hold that close to my heart always. He's an incredible coach. And Al Groh, we were in a team meeting one time, and then we had a real bad outing versus Georgia Tech. But we talk about this all the time. He's like, he was just talking about, one of the guys just being soft. And he's like, how soft are we? Like Charmin? It's just one of those like moments that you just never forget. But again, another brilliant minded coach. Shout out to Grow.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, man. Well, that's it. That's it on the 2 minute. We're going to jump back in as we start to get, wind this thing down. But I don't want to finish this without talking about, your purpose, beyond the game. And that's your foundation that you and your wife have started, Change Our Future. What inspired you to do that? And how is that foundation going for you today?
What inspired us to create Change Our Future had a lot to do with the George Floyd incident that occurred. We really were in a tough time mentally. We were protesting, trying to figure out a way to, make a change, and just really sick and tired was like our mindset. And we found ourselves just huddled up and with a lot of thoughts. And we said, what's the best way to try and create, long lasting impact? And we felt like it was through, an organization that would invest their time and efforts into our young people, knowing that is the future of our communities, nation, and because of that, we said, let's Change Our Future. We have a passion for kids. We recognize the walk that we possess, the individuals that invested in us, the resources that also were given to us are not always afforded to those of minority communities. And so that's where we felt, that's where we have leverage, using my likeness, the things, my network, paired with, my wife's, her brilliant mind. We can create something powerful here. And it's all about just giving access, creating exposure, and really developing community. Like those are our 3 essentials, and also the educational component. So I would say 4 essentials there for us at COF. And it's been just tremendous to see the amount of impact that we've had in such a short amount of time. Here in Philadelphia, we run a mentorship program led by myself as well as a couple other brothers. And man, we show up, man, we pour into these guys. And the whole mantra behind that is similar to what we know it to be as athletes. It's that next man up mentality, knowing that things can't just stop with, you and I. We hold a responsibility to give to the next generation. And we are now instilling everything that we know, our lessons, the same things that my uncle gave to me. He made sure that I didn't step in that same pothole that he did. That's what I'm doing, for these guys. And it's on them to also pass the torch on to the next. Right. Like, and that's where we're building when we talk about Next Man Up. We're really enhancing their leadership. We're making sure that they're just equipped with all of the right tools to be able to not only live a sustainable life of their own, but to lead their peers and their families accordingly. And then we host a youth leadership summit that speaks to putting kids and empowering them to know the gifts that they hold, recognizing the power of their story, and putting them in front of a lot of great businesses and vendors to allow them to thrive accordingly, and just giving them like the professional tools to succeed. And so it's been dope being a part of this, staying alongside my wife, doing this community work and doing God's work is what we like to call it. It's a calling we answered, and we're going to just continue to serve the right way and try to again just be change makers.
You emphasize movement and mindfulness, and and you going through this as a father, your new career, making that transition, which is not easy, to make a transition. How do you stay grounded through these processes now that you're not suiting up, on Sundays? Because it's those are tools that we also have to put in our toolbox so that we can keep the main thing.
Absolutely. It's a challenge right now, to be honest with you, because I was talking to one of my boys about it and saying how, you leave a world of mastery, like you know what it takes, what that role looks like every single year to put yourself in the best position possible to win and to succeed. And now you find yourself in a whole new phase of life, a lot of newness around me. I like from being a dad to career to, juggling, now the balance of dad and husband. It's so many areas around my life right now. And so I'm in discovery mode, to be honest, on how to, on what that day-to-day routine walk should look like in order to make sure I generate the same performance that I'm accustomed to. And that comes with just trial and error. But I will say there like always two constants, that first and foremost is God, is my father. Like that's always going to be present. And then lastly, it is the village. It is the village that I've surrounded myself with, that has given me so much, has kept me up at times where, I was down and out, have been my voice, everything that I can think of and imagine, they've rose to the occasion for me. And I'm extremely proud of it. And I tell people all the time, that's one reason why I was just able to still remain who I am, is because I kept those, that know me the best always by my side.
It's good to see, to hear that you're still early in this transition, but it's also good to hear that you are in discovery phase, and you're trying to figure it out. And a lot of people, they just say, I'm trying to figure it out, but they're not really trying to discover what that is. And so It's really good that, I really appreciate the word that you chose to use there. All right. As we start to wrap up, man, I know again, your foundation is very strong, but when you think about the different intangibles that makes you who you are, what are the several intangibles that really stick out for you, that's made you who you are today?
I would say one is, hard worker. And that's just a worker, just every facet of my life. I do what, many aren't willing to go and willing to do. And that's what I've really, make sure that I demonstrate. And that's paid off for me in a number of ways. And so that always has to be first and foremost is how I work. And then I would also say, this is a tough question. You don't really think about it. I feel like people identify for you more so than anything than you do it for yourself.
Well, I give you one more as I just listening to the conversation. I'll put one more on you for you, and that's composure, because of growing up in a household, having a lot of responsibility early on, but having that different type of having to have that kind of leadership early on within your family. That I feel like that's really high composure, moving to safety. Your coach having the composure to be willing to go do that, and then so I think and all the things that you said, I think the intangible that really sticks out for me outside your leadership is your composure, because now having the composure to make that transition to be in discover phase, and then make that transition to now you got a lot of eyes on you, and ESPN, and you're being a commentator, you have to have the right composure to handle that kind of pressure, along with handling the family and all that. And so that's my 2 cents as I I like to leave for his just as I'm listening to this conversation.
See, this is why you do this. This is why you do this, man. This is your thing. You already knew. You were just you trying to see what I was gonna say. But no, that composure hit the spot. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, as I think, just in the position that you're in right now, especially in college sports and mentor young kids, a piece of advice that you will leave for, a young athlete who is trying to get to that next level.
And just be a good person. I believe character will take you so far in life. It'll open a lot of doors that you didn't even think were possible. Just simply off of a hello, a handshake, common courtesy. And so we can't forget that that humanity and human connection side of things, because we live in a world right now where everything is digital, and we often are don't have the ability to connect or want to. So for me, it's just about, man, when you're in those spaces with individuals, know that, man, character, being a good person, and how you show up will have a lasting impression on whomever you're standing across from, and show up your unapologetic self. That's it. But I think that is my message. It's simply put, and I feel there's power in just being a good person in this world.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, here's my last question for you. It may make you think. It's a deep one. When we think about our life and the things that we've been through, what lesson took you the longest to learn, but you never traded for anything? I said one of the lessons that I had was, not putting, putting things before God. And not putting, money and, putting all the things outside of what should be number one, I was putting before. And it was a hard lesson, but now that as I've gone through life and had to get that slap upside the head. Yeah. Now it's one that I won't ever forget.
Yes.
So that's what made me think about it.
For sure. I would say for me at times, I would say patience. And I use that in a context of business minded when it comes to like patience, because you want to excel, and a lot of people will say, man, not everything has to be right, in order for you to just get out there and do it. But there is still like a level of patience that you have to have and possess to know like when to say, all right, like this is enough and I'm just ready to just like address it head on and get going, versus, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and like let that pass. And maybe I just need one more step before like I'm truly ready. And I think I've made a couple mistakes in the past out of like of being impatient, of rushing the process rather than kind of walking at a healthy pace. I think that's it. Pace. It's patience and pace. I feel like those are the two right there. From a business standpoint, I would say that I've learned and you know, I'm going through it now, and I'm like, look, right now while I'm not doing nothing, there's so much that I want to do, and I feel like I could get my hands on and get involved in, but it's like, look, pace and patience.
That's it. Let's be patient. That's awesome, man. Rodney, man, I really appreciate you jumping on the Intangible Podcast with me today. Your story is a story that is not about where you start. It's how you finish things, and man, your story is a true testament to that. And so really appreciate you jumping on with me today and giving me some of your time. Gonna be rooting you on, cheering for you, brother, man. And anything that I can lean into and be a support for within your foundation, things you're doing, man, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here for you. And again, really appreciate you joining us today.
Man, salute to you, and hell of a career yourself, brother. I appreciate it.